to my channel. So I got on a plane and went all the way across the world to Europe, and I'm gonna tell you about it. By myself, went halfway across the world, and went to Europe for the first time in my whole entire life. So this was a year ago, mind you, so this wasn't like yesterday, and even just thinking about it just makes me feel like, just makes me so happy and like giddy, and I just feel like a rush of joy every time I think about this trip. So let me just take it back from the beginning. So I was offered the opportunity to go to Italy, to spend a couple of weeks in Italy. And I took it. I was scared. I was petrified. You know, I had never been to Europe before. Got a passport, ain't got no stamps. Okay, I just want to travel, but haven't had the opportunity to travel as much as I'd like to travel. And then, you know, from 2019 to 2021, 22, we ain't really been able to do that. We're just now getting back outside, right? So I have not been able to travel as much. So when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. It wasn't a question in my mind. I was nervous. I was scared. I knew that I would be traveling by myself, and that alone was pretty nerve-wracking, but I tried not to give any of that too much thought. I tried not to energize that fear. I just tried to focus more on my Pinterest board, what I wanted to do, how I was gonna do it, how I was gonna plan my trip and make the most of the time that I had there. And then of course, what am I gonna wear, right? So I just decided to, everything that made me scared and everything that made me nervous about the trip, I acknowledged the fact that it was there, and it served, and that fear and anxiety to some degree served a purpose, but I just shifted my thought process to what I felt was most important. I already knew that I was taking the trip, so it didn't make sense for me to think so much about what could go wrong and, you know, what could happen, and none of that. We ain't doing that. I knew that I was going on the trip for months. Didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell a single soul. For that same reason, I didn't want anyone to talk me out of it. I didn't want anyone to worry themselves about me. I didn't want anyone to make me reconsider or anything like that. I didn't want any of that. So I just said, you know what? I'm not telling anybody. The only person who knew that I was going out the country was my baby cousin, because I flew to New York to spend time with family first, and then I flew from Milan. I flew from JFK into Milan. So I left from New York and then was coming back to New York after my trip. So my baby cousin took me to the airport, and she was the only person who knew. And shouts out to my baby cousin, because first of all, I just love her so much. She is like my heart, my joy, my everything. I love my baby cousin so much. But shout out to her, because as far as I know, she didn't tell nobody either. So she kept this secret, and I didn't tell her. I can't remember like how long she knew, but the key is you have to keep people on a need to know basis, because if you don't, it creates just a lot more problems and a lot more issues. And I didn't want to tell her too soon, because I didn't want her to slip up and say something to someone. So, and here's the thing about keeping a secret. Once you say it, it's out. Once you say it, the secret is out. It's not a secret anymore. Now it's news. So you really just have to not say anything, which was really hard for me, because I was speaking to people every day, you know, like my mom or my dad or my cousin, or, you know, just other people, some of my closest friends that I wanted to tell and like talk about, but I couldn't. And this is what people mean when they say move in silence. This is what the essence of that phrase is. You just, some things, not everything has to be completely secretive. I am a pretty private person. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm a very private person, and love being a private person, and I just am that way, and I've always been that way, and I'm not gonna change. But I've been like pretty much not accused, but I've just been told that I am way too private, secretive, sneaky. It's not sneaky. It's not sneaky. Always remember this. If you're one of those people who are having a hard time, like you see the value in being private, but you have a hard time practicing it, this is what I tell people. This is what I tell myself. Your information is exactly that. It's yours. And you know what? This is opportune, because I'm actually newly starting my channel. So even though this is not relative so much to the video, what the video is supposed to be about, this is important to say. I'm going to say it really quick. I'm going to move on. Your information is exactly that. Your information. You get to decide. You have the power and the control to decide how much you disclose, when you disclose, to whom, all the parameters around your information being told or exposed to someone else. You get to decide that. And if you want to highly protect your information and disclose very little, very infrequently, that is completely up to you. And if you are more an open book and you want to, you know, you don't mind sharing, and you don't mind, you know, having open, you know, people having access to your information, that's totally you. But we all get to decide. And I will just go ahead and say, for me personally, especially in this virtual space on YouTube, I am probably not going to be one of those people who's an open book. I'm more of an open book with the few select people in my life who I feel comfortable doing that with. That's not a lot of people. And even with those people, there's a restricted range. So I just want to lay that out there pretty early in my YouTube career, so that it's known, it's understood. Hopefully it will be received well and respected. But even what I'm about to tell you about this Italy trip, I'm not telling you everything. So just know, from me to you, this is what you can, it's all love, but this is what you can expect from me in this channel. So boom. Back to, now that the PSA is over with, back to the trip itself. So my cousin was the only person who knew, because she was my ride to the airport. Honestly, had I decided to Uber, I probably would have kept it to myself and she probably wouldn't have even known. I probably would have just, you know, not told her or just told her something different. I don't know. But anyway, I felt comfortable telling my baby cousin because I trust her. I love her. I knew that she was not gonna ruin it. I knew she wasn't gonna go do anything crazy. So, and I knew most importantly that she wasn't gonna discourage me. She wasn't gonna discourage me at all. She was all for it the entire time. So, let's jump to the day that I'm actually like in New York going to the airport. This is how powerful fear can be sometimes, and this was such an important lesson for me because I knew that this trip was going to be so life-changing for me. I knew it. I knew this trip was just going to change my life, change my perspective, just expand me in a lot of ways that I hadn't been before. I had never been to Europe before. I've always wanted to go, have pictures and magazines and you know, books about all these beautiful places in the world. And if I don't do anything else, I want to see these places. And up until this point in my life, I hadn't prioritized it or made it possible or even knew that it was possible. That's the one. That's the one. I didn't know that it was possible for me to be able to go to these places and do these things. I see people online doing it every day. Before social media, you saw people doing it in movies, but you sometimes don't think and know that that thing is just as possible for me as it is for someone else. We don't make that connection, especially if you allow me to say, especially people of color. We sometimes, and I'll just use myself as an example with this trip. I never thought that going, and I know it sounds crazy to say, and you may be listening to this and you're like, what the hell? No, that's not true. But for me personally, I didn't like have a frame of mind where I'm like, oh, I could do this. Like, I could do this. This is possible. This isn't something that like feels so. No, it feels like more often than not, things that we see happening for other people feel like, oh, that's great for them, or oh yeah, of course that's possible for them. And we don't adapt the mindset that no, it's possible for everybody. It's possible for everybody. It's possible for them. It's possible for you. It's possible for me. It's possible for them. It's possible for you. And it's also possible for me. Whatever it is you want, whatever it is you dream, whatever it is you imagine and envision and think about, is possible for you. You can and will do it. And when I was thinking about this trip, I was like, wow, it never occurred to me that this didn't have to be afforded to me. Like, I could have did this, but it never occurred to me until I was moving in it and walking through Venice that I could have did this for myself. But that is just to say, you know, the whole purpose of my channel is really to inspire myself first and encourage myself first to dream and to dream big. And then when you wake up from that dream, you work and you pray and you can do everything your mind conceive. And that was what I learned on this trip. That was when those words and those phrases that you see all the time became real life for me on this trip. So that's why I say this trip was absolutely life-changing, and I want to encourage and inspire myself first, but also anyone who ever views anything of mine. The purpose is to uplift and inspire and encourage you, and to really let you know and be a walking, breathing, moving example of you can do anything you put your mind to. You can do anything you put your mind to. I told myself this trip is going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. It's going to be life-changing. It's going to be a thrill. It's going to be everything that I need at the time that I'm taking this trip. And it was all true. So back to going to the airport. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I just be having so much to say, and I just be wanting to say it all. Okay, so fast forward, we're at JFK. The day that I was leaving, this is late August of last year, the day that I'm leaving, there is a hurricane coming through where I'm trying to think if it was coming straight to New York City, or it was either coming straight to New York City or it was coming up the East Coast, and it was gonna hit New York. It's raining, and it's raining all day non-stop, and I'm at my aunt's house, and I'm checking the airline like at 5-minute intervals, like, is this flight gonna get canceled? Should I even go? Like, now all the worry and fear and all the thoughts that I had shifted aside and said, I'm not going to play any of that in my mind. That's when they started coming randomly. I'm at my aunt's house. She got the news on, and you know how the news is. This is why I don't watch the news. The news is like making this thing sound like Category 5 Hurricane Katrina in 2005, or was that 2005? Katrina was 2005, yeah. You know, the news is making it seem like, and I knew that it was a storm, but I knew that it also couldn't have been that bad. I thought it was, I don't even think I think it was a tropical storm, matter of fact. I don't know, I don't remember, I don't really want to remember, but what I do recall is that this thing had me shaking in my boots, because that was when I started to think, okay, Lord, is this a sign? Should I not be going? Should I not move forward in this? Do I get on this plane? Do I not? You know, do we go to the airport or do we not? I didn't want to say it out loud. I didn't want to think it, but that's how I was feeling. I was checking the airline information, and I'm checking, and my flight isn't canceled. No updates, nothing. And I'm looking at my cousin, and I'm like, what do you know, like looking at her like, what do you think? But I don't want to ask her what she thinks, because I really don't want to know what she thinks, because I still want to go. I still think that this trip is meant for me. It's meant for me to go. So I'm not really soliciting her for any information, but I'm looking at her with this like worry in my eyes, and we just connect like that, where she knew exactly how I was feeling, and she didn't say anything, I didn't say anything, I didn't want her to say anything, but she felt me, and she felt how I was feeling. And again, she didn't discourage me. Shouts out to my baby cousin Musa, I just love her so much. She didn't discourage me, she didn't say anything wild or crazy. She took me to the airport, we prayed, I hugged and kissed her, and then I went on my way. And I sat in the airport, and I just prayed, and I read my Bible, and I just knew that I had to walk forward, and I had to demonstrate faith. And do you know, before I left New York, when I left New York, it was still raining, right? But do you know, by the time we got in the sky, it was all clear. Whatever was coming through completely, like, I'm not gonna say completely stopped, but when we took off, we didn't have to wait for takeoff. Got on the plane, we took off, we didn't have any turbulence, we didn't have any delays, flight didn't get canceled, nothing. So I am on this plane for hours and hours and hours, and I'm just thanking God, I'm praying, I am meditating, just sitting in my thoughts. I'm journaling. For hours I did that. Towards the end of the trip, like the last 2 hours, I finally decided to put a movie on. We was about to go and I finally decided to put a movie on, but I'm looking at the map and seeing like where we're flying over, and you know, and I'm looking out the window and I'm just in awe, and I just sat with myself and my thoughts for hours and hours and hours, and it was just like, it was just so beautiful to be able to like reflect and like mentally have like 8 or 9 hours, however long that flight was, probably longer than that, probably like 10 hours, to sit and prepare my mind for what was about to happen. So I get to Italy and it is a girl's dream. First of all, the views from the airport, I mean not the airport, excuse me, the views from the airplane were just so beautiful, so lovely. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really not Toto, we ain't in Kansas no more. I'm like, I'm really like a really long way from home. I'm like literally in like a whole nother country, and I loved it. I loved it. So I got to Italy. I went to Milan first. Like I flew into Milan, spent most of my trip in Milan, and loved it. Like I did everything that I wanted to do. When I first got there, you know, I stayed with a host, if you will, which was nice, which was lovely. The food was incredible. The food, oh my God, just thinking about it. The food is so fresh. So this was one time where I learned like the way we regulate food in America is very different from the way other countries regulate it, because I was eating all sorts of bread, all types of pastas, everything that I literally cannot eat here because I think I'm sensitive to gluten, and I think that it's just, you know, poor quality of food, honestly. I was eating there with no problem. I mean, pizza, pasta, wine, you name it. I literally was like eating everything and didn't feel full, didn't feel bloated, didn't have any GI, you know, upsets or anything. It was just so wonderful. So spent most of my time in Milan. I did stay with a host, and I had like someone show me around a little bit, but for the most part I was completely alone and spent a lot of time alone and had to learn how to navigate things, and was just on an adventure, Now Milan felt a little bit more like home because Milan is basically like a metropolitan city. It feels a lot like New York. So that was like incredible. Then I went to Venice, which was so dreamy, like to see these buildings, like basically like a whole city that's sitting on water, was just absolutely incredible. Like I was at a loss for words. It was so nice to be in a totally different place, see something new, experience a new culture, eat new food. You know, I am telling you, changed my life. So I went to, let me see, because now I'm like drawing a blank on all the things that I did. So I went to Milan. Oh, in Venice, I had a lot of good, well, we walked around a lot. That was the thing. But in Venice, I had, so I really only spent like a day in Venice. I didn't stay in Venice too long, but I loved it. I walked around, I shopped. We got on a trolley, which is almost like the bus. Technically, it almost feels like you're taking the bus, but it's not the bus because it's on water. So I think I guess it's a water bus, if you will. And we went from one part of the city to another part of the city. I should have did the what is it called, the gondola boat ride, you know, where the man is, you know what I'm saying. I didn't have the patience. The weather was beautiful, but it was a little hot, and this guy in this boat, he can't get us around fast enough. I'm sorry. It was nice to watch other people do, but I wasn't pressed to do that at all. I was like, no, let's get on this water boat. Let's go to the other part of the city. But we just walked around, we explored, looked at cities, looked at the city, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the pictures because I want to go back. I'm looking at the pictures because, like I said, this was a year ago. I really can't remember everything. But, you know, it was absolutely incredible. So then I went to Lake Como. So that was the other place that I went. I'm like, golly, where else did I go? I wanted to go to Tuscany, but I'm telling you, the couple of days that I was there, it felt like I was there over a week. It felt like literally less than that. But then we went to Lake Como, which was so beautiful. And the next time I go to Italy, I'll definitely be going back to Lake Como because I had an amazing time, and I only did a day trip there, but Como is a place where I definitely like to stay a day or two. But we just docked at an island on the lake, or not an island, I guess. I guess it's kind of like the same thing. Like a boat took you to different stops. So we just picked a random stop to get off of, and we walked around, saw the views, we ate. I'm telling you, I feel like all I did was eat and then walked off what I ate. I ate and then I walked it off. I ate and I walked it off because it was so much walking. But Lake Como, so it was a day at Lake Como, and it was just so beautiful. And honestly, I know that I keep saying it was just so beautiful, it was just so beautiful, but it was, and I can't say it any other way, and I don't know how else to say that it was just so beautiful there, and just unlike anything that I have ever seen, like in my life. So those are the 3 places that I went. And it was just amazing, and it was wonderful, and I definitely want to go back again this next time, and I will be going back again. I will be going back again. When I go back, I want to do Rome, the Amalfi Coast, like Positano, South Italy, and I want to do Tuscany too. So be on the lookout for that. That is definitely coming. But I just want to say that again, and I guess that's really what this video was about, was just encouraging, because I didn't speak a whole lot about what I actually did in Italy because I honestly can't even remember at this time. So I know that I haven't like said a whole lot about what I did. So it's just really hard to actually recollect all of it, because like I said, it was pretty a while ago. But more importantly, what I really want to share about this trip to Italy is what I said before, is if there's something in your life that you want to do, all the things in your life that you want to do, not just one thing, not just some things, but the things that you want to do in this life, you can do it. You can do it. And nothing showed me that more than going to Italy and walking around and looking at all these beautiful sights, eating this amazing food, people watching, and just, I felt like I was living a completely different life. I felt like I was. And it changed my whole entire life to see and experience something that new. And that's what they say travel does. They say once your mind has been expanded by travel or by, you know, new experiences, it cannot just go back to what it was before. And I found that to be absolutely true. I found that to be the absolute truth, that it changes you. It changes you in ways that you didn't even know were possible. And literally one of my favorite movies of all time is Eat, Pray, Love. And that movie, pretty much, if you've ever seen it with Julia Roberts and Viola Davis, that movie pretty much captures everything I'm trying to say in this video. And I think we all need like an eat, pray. I wouldn't say that this was, well, I don't know, definitely the eat part. The eat part. And she actually went to Italy. That was her first stop in the movie, if you've ever seen the movie. So I got the eat part, but I do want to have like my own personal eat, pray, love journey and like trip. So maybe I'll create that for myself. But I kind of just feel like this. I feel like now more than ever, we live in an age where we see people doing things that we didn't even know were possible. And we see people living to these really high heights, and you know, it's encouraging and it's inspiring, right? It's inspiring. It's very inspiring. But a lot of times when we look at inspo, we look at it and we're like, oh, they are great at that, or they did that well, or they can do that. But we really have a hard time seeing ourselves in that same predicament, in that same position. And if that's something that you struggle with, I am here to tell you, and not that I'm there, please, I'm nowhere near, not that I'm there. And that's why I say I'm encouraging you and inspiring you as I inspire myself, because I have to tell myself this every single day, that all the things that you want out of this life, it is possible for you, it is plausible for you, it can and will happen for you the same way you see it happening in other people's lives. God can move in the same way for you. And you have to believe that. You have to believe that with your whole heart and your whole mind, and don't let anything shake you or make you waver. Had I took just a few more moments to reconsider, or to think, you know what, this hurricane is a sign, I shouldn't go. Had I sat on that just a little longer, I probably would have missed this experience. And usually that's how I am. Like, usually at the first sign of like, wait a minute. The first sign of a confirmation bias, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not doing it. Nope. And had I not proceeded with that resistance, because I think that's what it was on a spiritual level, I think that was happening as maybe a test to see, a test of faith, or because sometimes when we are meeting something great, we do have, sometimes when we're meeting something great, we do have we have some resistance before we get to that great thing. And I just want to encourage you and tell you, don't be discouraged. Don't be moved by that obstacle. Don't be frightened because of what it looks and feel like. Go in the direction of your dreams. Go after what you want, and do not stop. Do not stop. So that's really all that I wanted to share, like what I learned from this trip and how it changed me and how I have grown because of that trip. Because since then, since August of last year when I took this trip, I have been relentless about pursuing what it is I want to do. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the motivation goes up and down. Sometimes the discipline ebbs and flows, but I hadn't stopped, and I'm not gonna stop. And that's what this trip taught me. And this is my gift to you to share that same thing with you. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. And here is a little bit of footage of my time in Italy. Enjoy. Go to that place that you went to yesterday and get me a croissant, because that croissant was a hit. Go get my broken nail fix, and then go to Zara. But I overslept and I didn't get a chance to do any of that. So maybe tomorrow. No, not tomorrow.